Before I say thanks to God, I'm gonna say eyes out. We're not savage, we're not animals, we're not aliens, we are humans and we are Americans. The only thing that is more powerful than hate is love.
The story doesn't begin at the Super Bowl. It starts months earlier, when Bad Bunny released an album that didn't seem designed for the UK at all. In late 2024, he dropped Debí Tirar Más Fotos, a project rooted deeply in Puerto Rican identity, memory, and culture. The title translates to, I should have taken more photos. It wasn't built for crossover radio. It wasn't padded with English hooks. The entire record stayed in Spanish, deliberate and uncompromising. When it entered the UK albums chart, it debuted at number 13. Respectable, noticeable, but not dominant. It wasn't a breakthrough moment. It was more like a polite acknowledgement, the industry equivalent of, we see you. Globally, Bad Bunny was already operating at a different level. He had been among the most streamed artists in the world, breaking records across platforms and territories. But the UK market has always moved differently. It rewards familiarity. It favors tradition. And while Latin music had made progress, a fully Spanish-language album sitting near the top still felt unlikely. So number 13 became the quiet ceiling. For weeks, nothing dramatic happened. The album held steady. No massive jumps, no sudden viral moment inside the UK. It seemed like the story was already written. Global icon, moderate UK traction. And that's important because chart explosions rarely happen without pressure building first. By early February 2026, the album had settled into its expected trajectory. It wasn't climbing, it wasn't collapsing, it was stable. Then came February 8th, 2026, Super Bowl Sunday, and a stage that historically belonged to English-language pop dominance was about to shift.
I'm thinking about one song in particular that's been generating a lot of attention. Look at Le Paso a Hawaii. Why do you think that song has struck such a nerve?
I think it struck a chord with Puerto Ricans because we're living through that. I think it was a brilliant analogy that he used. Hawaii also entered the U.S. orbit in 1898, the same moment that Puerto Rico was colonized. And so in order for Hawaii to become a state, it needed to be first Americanized. And so local peoples were displaced, local culture was co-opted. And so it is a warning call that Bad Bunny is it's giving us of what happened to Hawaii. And so I think that this song has not only struck a chord with Puerto Ricans, but I've also seen in social media, people from Venezuela, people from Cuba, people from different parts of the Americas, people from Palestine, using this song to talk about what they're living through.
Super Bowl 60 drew one of the largest television audiences of the year. More than 100 million viewers in the United States alone. The halftime show has historically been reserved for artists who dominate mainstream American radio, almost always performing in English. On February 8th, 2026, Bad Bunny walked onto that stage and did something different. He performed in Spanish, not partially, not as a bilingual compromise. The set list stayed true to his catalog, rooted in the language that built his career. It was a deliberate decision on the biggest broadcast platform in American television. That choice mattered. The Super Bowl halftime show has featured global icons for decades. From pop legends to stadium rock staples, it has typically centered artists who translate easily across American mainstream culture. Bad Bunny didn't translate himself. He brought his audience with him. The performance immediately dominated social media conversation. Streaming numbers spiked within hours. Playlists shifted. Search traffic surged. But the most interesting reaction didn't happen in the United States. It happened across the Atlantic. Because while American audiences were debating set design and guest appearances, something measurable was happening inside the UK charts. And it wasn't gradual. It wasn't the slow climb of radio rotation. It wasn't the predictable bump that follows major publicity. It was a surge. The kind that makes chart analysts double-check data before publishing. Within days of the broadcast, UK streams for Debí Tirar Más Fotos accelerated sharply. Multiple tracks from the album began rising at the same time, not just one breakout single, but the body of work. This wasn't momentum building. It was momentum arriving. And when the new chart numbers were finalized, the scale of the shift became impossible to ignore.
Bad Bunny used the sky blue Puerto Rico flag at the Super Bowl. You might be used to seeing this flag with navy blue instead, but what does each flag mean? Time for a little Puerto Rican history. This was the first flag of Puerto Rico, the revolutionary flag of Lares. It was knitted by Mariana Bracetti Cuevas during the first uprising of Lares in 1868. It was flown there, the first revolt against Spanish colonizers. After that, pro-independence Puerto Ricans in New York City in the 1890s created this flag. And that flag would become the official flag with sky blue, white, and red. After Spain, the United States colonized Puerto Rico in 1898. Between then and the establishment of Puerto Rico as a Commonwealth in 1952, it was a felony to display the Puerto Rican flag in public. There was even a gag law which made displaying a Puerto Rican light blue or Lares flag punishable by up to 10 years in prison. In 1952, the color of the Puerto Rican flag changed from sky blue to navy blue, resembling the flag of the United States. And later, the gag law was deemed unconstitutional. For many, the light blue flag is a symbol of freedom, independence, and also a historical learning moment.
The week after the Super Bowl, the UK albums chart delivered the number. Debí Tirar Más Fotos jumped from number 13 to number 2. That kind of movement is rare. Albums don't typically vault 11 places in a single week without a major external trigger. This wasn't a slow burn. It was a sharp correction. Only Olivia Dean's The Art of Loving kept it from the top spot. And even that margin was narrow. At the same time, the UK singles chart told a similar story. DTMF surged 39 places to land at number 4. Bad Bunny's highest UK singles position to date. Nueva York climbed into the top 20, peaking around number 15. Bailey Inolvidable followed close behind, landing near number 20. This wasn't one viral clip driving numbers. It was the entire album moving together. Multiple tracks rising simultaneously signals something different from a radio hit. It suggests new listeners diving into a catalog, not just sampling a chorus. It reflects replay value. It reflects conversion. For years, Bad Bunny had dominated global streaming platforms. He had topped international year-end lists. But in the UK, the ceiling seemed fixed. A number 13 debut had implied strong recognition, but limited crossover. That ceiling broke in 1 week. The Super Bowl didn't introduce him to the world. It amplified him in a market that had kept him at arm's length. And importantly, this became his first solo UK top 10 album and one of his highest charting singles in the territory. The charts didn't shift gradually, they snapped. And when numbers move that quickly, it raises a larger question. What exactly changed? The audience or the rules?
That number 64 jersey, that was not a random number. It was a direct shot at the government for initially reporting only 64 deaths from Hurricane Maria, hiding the thousands who actually died. That little house you saw on stage, it was a symbol of resistance against the rich tourists and the developers gentrifying the island and pushing local families out of their homes. His shout-out to Toñita in Nueva York was a deep cut. It was a nod to the legendary owner of a beloved cultural hub for the Puerto Rican community in New York City. And the kid holding his Grammy was a gut punch about the children separated from their families at the border by harsh ICE policies. Those figures on the power lines directly reference the chronic blackouts from his protest song Al Apagon, which slams the privatization of the island's power grid. Now, bringing out Ricky Martin wasn't just a fun cameo. It was a powerful reclaiming of Puerto Rican pop history on the biggest stage in America. And the Puerto Rican flag he used had a light blue triangle. That is not the official one. It's the specific flag of the pro-independence and anti-colonial movement. And finally, his last line, he reframed America to mean the entire continent, the North, the Central, and the South, a defiant message of unity for all of us.
What changed wasn't the language. Bad Bunny had been making Spanish-language music his entire career. He didn't switch formats. He didn't pivot to English. He didn't soften his identity for a wider audience. The album that jumped to number 2 was the same album that debuted at 13. What changed was visibility. Standing on the Super Bowl stage in February 2026, he didn't frame Spanish as niche or regional. He treated it as global by default. That distinction matters. For decades, artists crossing into English-language markets were expected to adapt, translate lyrics, adjust sound, reposition image. He didn't. And the UK response suggests something important. When audiences are presented with confidence rather than compromise, they often respond to it. The post-Super Bowl spike wasn't charity. It was curiosity converting into sustained streams. There's also industry context. Charts reflect consumption, but they're influenced by exposure. Airplay, playlist placement, media coverage. These factors shape momentum. A Super Bowl halftime show is one of the few platforms powerful enough to reset those dynamics overnight. But the foundation had already been built. Bad Bunny had years of consistent output, global touring, and record-breaking streaming before this moment. The UK surge wasn't the creation of an audience from scratch. It was the activation of one that had been hovering. The 11th-place album jump and 39th-place single surge weren't random spikes. They were pressure releasing. And in doing so, they challenged an assumption that English remains the necessary gateway for full mainstream validation. The charts didn't just record a win. They documented a shift.
Puerto Rico, I want to dedicate this award to all the people that had to leave their homeland, their country to follow their dreams. Before I say thanks to God, I'm gonna say eyes out. We're not savage, we're not animals, we're not aliens, we are humans and we are Americans. Also, I want to say to the people, I know it's tough to know, not to hate on these days. And I was thinking, sometimes we get contaminados. I don't know how to say that in English. The hate get more powerful with more hate. The only thing that is more powerful than hate is love. Please, we need to be different. If we fight, we have to do it with love. If we don't hate them, we love our people, we love our family, and that's the way to do it, with love. Don't forget that, please. Thank you.
Bad Bunny was 31 years old when this happened. Not a new artist chasing relevance, not an underdog fighting for recognition. He was already one of the most streamed musicians on the planet before the UK charts moved. That's what makes the shift significant. For years, global streaming data showed his dominance. Billions of plays, stadium tours, awards. But there's still a difference between global metrics and specific market validation. The UK has long been considered a tastemaker territory, historically selective, slow to fully embrace non-English catalogs. A number 13 debut reinforced that caution. A jump to number 2 challenged it. The Super Bowl performance didn't rewrite his career. It clarified it. It demonstrated that an artist can reach the biggest televised stage in America without altering language or identity, and still expand into markets that once felt resistant. The numbers matter because they're measurable. An 11th-place album surge, a 39th-place single jump, multiple tracks entering the top 20 simultaneously. Those aren't symbolic gestures, they're consumer decisions. And those decisions send signals to labels, radio programmers, and festival bookers. Language is no longer a disqualifier. Exposure can accelerate acceptance, and audiences are more fluid than industry models often assume. The UK didn't suddenly discover Bad Bunny. It finally responded at scale. What happened after February 8, 2026 wasn't just a chart anomaly. It was a case study in cultural confidence meeting mainstream infrastructure and winning. Was this a one-time Super Bowl surge, or the moment the UK finally caught up to a global shift that was already happening? Share your take below, and click the next video to watch our deeper breakdown of another public figure who changed the industry without changing themselves.